In a new Bloomberg Politics poll, 24%, followed by Ben Carson, who's at 20%. Trump is winning in New Hampshire, 27% to Marco Rubio's 13%. In Florida, Trump doubles Rubio, 36 to 18% in his home state. In Connecticut, Trump has an 11-point lead over Rubio in the Republican primary. And in New Jersey, Trump is at 31%, right across the board, Joe.
Boy, Phil, Donald Trump playing with his belts and swearing.
Is this the moment we predict the decline again, and then he's up 10 more points in the next couple polls?
This past week, the decline was predicted. There was another, I think it was another Time story talking about, well, this time with his attacks on Carson, he's gone too far. You look at these numbers, the guy's in the mid to high 30s in most of these states, pounding Chris Christie in his home state of New Jersey, pounding Marco and Jeb in their home states of Florida. This is as dominant as he's been in the entire campaign. Teflon
is one way to describe it, but also finding issues that resonate within the Republican primary electorate and then hitting them over and over again. And I think there's a lot of question, okay, in the aftermath of Paris, in the aftermath of Syria refugees, is this what hits Trump because he's inexperienced on foreign policy? Listen to his radio advertisement that he released today.
It's tough.
Anybody who's listening to that, even though there's not hundreds of thousands of Syrian refugees walking into the country, take into what he's been talking about over the last couple of months and say, yeah, Donald Trump's been talking about that, bombing ISIS, bombing oil. Yeah, why don't we do that? Well, we are, the U.S. is, but Donald Trump messages this in a way that really resonates.
And Casey, we were in New Hampshire last Wednesday, had a town hall meeting. Mika got him to say that he was going to have a deportation force. Afterwards, everybody was telling me, oh, this is going to really hurt him. And I was like, are you kidding me? This actually, and I said before it happened, I said, this gets the debate back to immigration. He's the toughest on immigration. And now watch Marco Rubio. I mean, Trump, he does play chess. It's not checkers. He brought it back to immigration not only to be tough, but to expose Marco Rubio's weakness, who he now sees as his main challenger.
Well, how many staffers have we talked to who just are beside themselves because they don't have a candidate who can stay on message and they're constantly messing up what they're trying to do? Donald Trump is a one-person message. He knows what it is. He sticks to it. But I think the other part of this is that we saw Carson's numbers drop, I imagine in part because of what Donald Trump has been out there saying. And if he does decide, as you say, to turn his fire on Rubio, that obviously is the next brewing battle. And you also have Cruz already up on the air talking about this.
So, Jeremy, if you look at what's happened to Trump, and there was this speculation that Paris would mean people say, I want experience, I actually want somebody who has some kind of past history in this. This suggests this is just clearly not the case, right? Simple, we will hit them in a complex time seems to be working.
Yeah, we'll knock the hell out of them, we'll take the oil. No, I mean, Trumpism was always more of an attitude than an ideology, right? And right now you have this moment, I think, that is just...
I love that.
I do, that's very good. Trumpism is more of an attitude than an ideology.
Write it down.
You had, that was in the New York Times. My colleague Michael Barbaro and I wrote that story a couple months ago.
All right, you and Michael can trademark. Trademark Make America Great Again.
No, but there's this moment right now that I think is ripe for the kind of nationalism that Trump appeals to. You have threats of national security, you have immigration, and they're coming together. And, I mean, Trump is a nationalist candidate, and that's what we're seeing.
One thing, I would just, the Bloomberg Politics polls, we were looking at the top line numbers. National security and terrorism have now jumped way ahead of any other issue economically right now. If people think Donald Trump is strong on national security, if everybody thinks Ben Carson is weak on national security, which kind of looks that way based on everything you've read in the last couple weeks or days, he's got a big advantage here on this issue. And then you add the Syria refugee issue, where more than half of Americans believe that the program should be halted. These are almost walking right into his wheelhouse in terms of issues.
Casey Hunt, the Republican establishment is panicking right now. Donald Trump is actually getting stronger. The hope that Ben Carson might win Iowa and knock him off there, and then maybe, who knows, a Kasich or a Bush wins New Hampshire, knocks him off there. Right now, as we get closer and closer to Thanksgiving, and we all know December is a dead month in politics. Right now, a lot of people scratching their head in the GOP establishment saying, who is our candidate? Is it Marco? Is it Jeb? Is it Cruz? There's still no answer.
There is no answer, and there are brewing fights that give them even more cause for concern. I mean, having talked to, I was just in South Carolina, for example. If you think about, that's a state that's typically very establishment. The whole place is a mess compared to where it's been in previous cycles. A lot of the people in the party don't understand what's going on. You have, on the one hand, Trump supporters who are mostly outside the party apparatus. The question there is, are those people actually going to turn into voters? They're sort of angry and outside. Then you have Carson. There's an event he's holding 2 weeks from now. They already have 3,000 RSVPs for that event. Now, I was at a small Jeb event, a luncheon, Jeb Bush event, and, you know, it's all of the people in South Carolina suits clapping politely. That's the Jeb Bush crowd. But no one can identify how many of those people that there are. It's absent in the polls. He's barely there. Marco Rubio and Ted Cruz also potentially heading for a clash. But Cruz and Carson overlap so much that Cruz is going to have to take Carson out. Now, that's one microcosm, obviously one state. You've got to go through Iowa and New Hampshire first. But it's so wide open right now that you're absolutely right. People have no idea. They can't coalesce behind one horse.
I'm waiting for the Trump-Cruz clash. That's what's coming here. Oh, and it's going to happen over immigration. It's going to happen over national security. I think Cruz right now is so busy trying to run to Marco Rubio's right on immigration, and Rubio is so busy trying to run to Cruz's right on national defense and security that, you know, we've kind of forgotten that Trump is there just kind of waiting to be attacked by Cruz.
But they've played it nice.
They have. I don't think that lasts.
They have, and I wonder how that plays out, Jeremy, because in a way, Cruz is the one person who might be able to take on Trump because he has the conservative credentials. He's got a ton of money. He's very well organized. If you look at any of the candidates, it would be a risk for any of them, right? Certainly Rubio to take on Trump at the moment. Could Cruz do it?
I think he's the only one, I think, who would have the credibility with the right to do it.
And, you know, I'm not sure if the establishment would hate a Donald Trump nomination or a Ted Cruz nomination more.
You know what? That is a tough question. I would actually guess right now they might hate a Cruz nomination more because it's the devil you know.
He has no friends.
He has no friends.
I think Mitch McConnell might secretly pull the lever for Hillary Clinton.
There have been senators who've said if Cruz is really gaining traction come February, March, they will go into the states where Cruz is campaigning and work against him publicly.
But for who?
Against Cruz. I don't think it really matters. Anybody but Cruz.
All right. Well, after a quick break, MSNBC Live is going to pick up the breaking news out of Paris that the mastermind of Friday's attack has been killed. A lot to get to today. Thank you all so much for being with us. We greatly appreciate it. And thank you for watching. Stay with MSNBC for breaking news all day.
I'm Donald Trump, candidate for president, and I approve this message. The tragic attacks in Paris prove once again that America needs to get tough on radical Islamic terrorism. President Obama and other politicians have consistently failed us. Just hours before the attacks in Paris, President Obama said ISIS has been contained. It's amazing that the United States can have a president who is so out of touch. But it's also dangerous. Obama has no strategy to defeat ISIS, and now he's preparing to let hundreds of thousands of refugees from Syria into the United States. I will stop illegal immigration. We'll build a wall on the southern border, and yes, I will also quickly and decisively bomb the hell out of ISIS. We'll rebuild our military and make it so strong no one, and I mean no one, will mess with us. If I win, we will not have to listen to the politicians who are losing the war on terrorism. We will keep America safe, and we will make America great again.
A new national poll of the Republican presidential race from Bloomberg Politics has just come out this hour, and Donald Trump maintains his lead over the field with 24%, followed by Ben Carson, who's at 20%, just barely within the margin of error. At 12%, Senator Marco Rubio is the only other candidate to score in double digits. Ted Cruz has risen now to 4th place, and Jeb Bush in 5th place, down 7 points from September. But in most state polls released yesterday, Donald Trump has commanding leads, and there's a different runner-up. In Florida, Trump doubles Marco Rubio 36 to 18% in his home state, with Ben Carson and Cruz both ahead of former Governor Jeb Bush. And in Connecticut, Trump has an 11-point lead over Rubio in the Republican primary. Bush and Ohio Governor John Kasich tie for 3rd at 10%. With New Jersey's Republican voters, Trump's at 31%, Rubio's at 18%, Ben Carson, he's at 11%, and home state Governor Chris Christie is in 4th place.
And then, Koki, we had 2 New Hampshire polls. Guys, if we can get the New Hampshire polls and put them up, because obviously it's the first in the nation, where Trump's way ahead. I'll go to Florida, though, really quickly. I want to show, Koki, look at these numbers in Florida.
Well, I just heard.
Which says it all. You have Donald Trump beating the sitting senator Marco Rubio from Florida, who's supposed to be the future of the world.
Right.
He's losing. Marco is losing to Donald Trump in Marco's own state by 18 points.
And look at Jeb Bush.
And Jeb Bush, extraordinarily popular governor, losing by, what, 27 points?
Yeah.
Donald Trump dominating across America.
Well, he's very lucky that the French situation happened the day it happened, because the night before he had this 95-minute rant in Iowa where he did not look glued down at all.
The belt buckle.
Yes, exactly. And it would have been all the news the next day. But then Paris happened. And so now he is in a position where he sounds tough and strong, which is, of course, what he's been sounding all along.
Right.
But at a moment when people are listening to that. Now, I wonder, though, if in the end this terrorist attack makes people sit back and think maybe we actually do need a grown-up and not somebody who's just ranting and raving.
Well, that's
a
what
professional.
You might think, right? But when Donald Trump says we're going to bomb the hell out of ISIS, even though, as Jim pointed out earlier, there's not a lot left to bomb in Raqqa, it doesn't seem to be dissuading Donald Trump's supporters.
But I brought up Ronald Reagan yesterday about the Panama Canal treaty, where most of the experts thought Reagan was a fool for taking that position. You can say the same thing about Ronald Reagan's strategy on the Iranian hostage crisis was, we're going to get them out, or we're going to war. And, you know, everybody said he was simplistic and he was a fool, and they were released right after he became president. What was his strategy with the Soviets? Was it containment? Was it détente? Was he closer to Brezhnev? No, it was, we are going to
make America strong again.
He said, we win, they lose. That was his strategy. And in times like these, that actually is the strong voice for voters.
If you're a Trump voter, if you've been sympathetic to the message, Paris says to you, this is the tough guy that we need. This is the guy who's going to, make it happen. He says it like it is. He's going to bomb the hell out of him. And, that is not the commander-in-chief personality that you usually look for, the guy who just pounds the table. But in this moment, it may be even more attractive for people than it was. If Jeb Bush can sound mature and coherent, or Marco Rubio can use that intellect about foreign policy to reassure people, that's going to give Trump.
But maybe that's not what I increasingly think. The more we are told that things are complicated, and as Jim has suggested earlier, that there's no simple military solution to defeating ISIS, the more people want a simplistic solution, or something that sounds simple and clear and strong.
Right.
And whether it's about the economy or national security, times of complexity here and in Europe have led people to want something simple.
By the way, the New Hampshire poll, we were citing a Fox poll, Trump 27%, Rubio 13%, so he's well ahead there as well. And you know, Caddy, the president's petulance, or whatever you want to call it, peevishness, it comes at a price. It comes at a price because when there are not strong voices from the White House,
right, then
you have the hysteria around refugees. You have the hysteria around ISIS. You have the hysteria, perhaps it feeds into candidates that take advantage of it. There is a void created.
Right.
And Barack Obama has done more to help Donald Trump over the next 3 days, and John Kerry, than any ad that Donald Trump will ever run, because politics is all about contrast.
You can go back ever since the debacle over American policy in Syria began and say that the White House has left a void on this.
Right. Well, coming up next, we've got Senators Jeff Flake and Tim Kaine. They're with us from the Capitol. Why they say we're long past due having a credible debate in Congress on the Islamic State.
We're back with the Hardball Roundtable. Megan, Jeremy, and April. Donald Trump is pulling away in the new polling up in New Hampshire, and his tough talk on terrorism may be fueling that rise. According to WBUR poll, Trump is at 23%, 10 points ahead of Dr. Carson and Marco Rubio. And a brand new Fox News poll just out tonight has Trump at 27%, 14 points ahead of Rubio. And today on the conservative Boston radio show, there's so many of the conservative shows out there, Trump slammed President Obama.
I think he's a threat to our country. I mean, he must have some kind of a thing going because, when you see that he won't even call them by their name, after attack after attack after attack.
Anyway, quickly, I only have a minute here for everybody, but Megyn, Jeremy, and April. Is Trump going to be there in February, yes or no?
Absolutely.
Yes, but I don't think he's going to be the president.
No, February. Let's think 2 months ahead.
I don't know whether he'll be the nominee.
Everybody said he was gone 2 months ago, and here we are almost to December.
I did not say it.
Okay, where do you think he'll be? He'll be there in February?
There. Money, 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 money.
No, I think he knows. I think
yes, it is, because he can pay. That
okay.
man,
What are you talking about? We got a swatter? Look, you're getting close.
I'm sorry.
No, you get so close.
I'm sorry.
Look,
Donald Trump, money talks.
Okay.
And other stuff.
Let me tell you, 10 seconds. I think he's into American nationalism. He's figured it out. Nobody else has.
He's tapped into the perfect moment right now. People are craving strength. He's showing it across foreign policy.
And they love him, too, because of his political money as well.